Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. There were two fried eggs on the plate, and one of them had a perfect red lipstick mark right in the center. She never wore red lipstick, and I never kissed the eggs. That's how my Saturday started. The weird thing? The house was spotless. My hoodie, which I left on the armrest last night, was folded and placed neatly on the dining chair. My phone, usually plugged in next to the couch, was placed face down by the sink. But it was dead. And my slippers were wet, like someone had stepped in them after walking through a puddle, but the house hadn't seen rain in 3 days. I called out her name. Once, twice. No answer. I checked the bedroom. Her side of the bed looked untouched. The shower was dry. Her purse was gone, but the keys were still hanging. Then I noticed it. A faint humming noise. The washing machine. It was running, but I hadn't put anything in. Inside, I found a single men's t-shirt I didn't recognize. Size large. Gray. It had a pizza logo on it that said Tony's Slice Shack. We've never been to a Tony's Slice Shack. My stomach dropped. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there like some badly written side character in a movie, while the machine sloshed someone else's shirt around. There was a note on the fridge. Gone for the day. Don't wait up. Need this. With a little heart drawn at the bottom. No name, no love you, no explanation. I stood there and stared at the note for longer than I'd like to admit. And then I did something very un-me. I grabbed a black duffel from the closet, packed only what I could carry, and walked out the door. No texts, no arguments, no theatrics. Because when she left that morning, she didn't expect anything to change. She thought I'd still be here, confused, maybe hurt, probably making excuses for her in my head. But when she came back that evening, I wasn't here. And for once, I didn't leave a note. She must have come home around 8:40 p.m. The porch light was on, the door was unlocked, just like I always left it. Except this time, I wasn't behind it. I imagine she walked in with that casual little yawn she always faked when she wanted to seem innocent. Maybe she dropped her purse by the door, kicked off her shoes like nothing in the world was wrong, and headed to the kitchen expecting to find me reheating leftovers like some loyal idiot. Instead, she found silence, and that silence must have stretched. I know it did, because it was heavy even when I used to be there. But now, with me gone, it must have felt unbearable. She called my name, twice. Once with that light tone she uses when she thinks I'm being dramatic. Then again, louder, when the emptiness echoed it right back to her. I left my phone behind. I wanted her to panic, not because I'm cruel, but because she had never, not once, experienced what it felt like to be ignored. She specialized in selective silence, weaponized it like a pro. But this time, the house was the one that turned its back. She checked the bedroom. The closet was half empty. My shaving kit was gone. I even took the stupid pair of socks she always teased me about, the ones with little raccoons on them. Why? Because they mattered to me. And I knew the moment she saw that drawer open, she'd realize this wasn't a tantrum. This was an exit. The fridge still had that one lipstick-smeared egg plate I'd left behind. It sat there like evidence at a crime scene. And the washing machine, still spinning, still scrubbing away whatever she didn't want me to see. But it was too late. I'd seen enough. She must have tried to call my phone. I imagine the way her fingers fumbled, the way her face dropped when the screen lit up from across the room, but didn't buzz. Dead. Just like the conversation we never had. Just like the trust she walked all over. Somewhere in her purse, I know there's a hotel key card, maybe from a place near Tony's Slice Shack, maybe from somewhere farther, more hidden, but I didn't need to find the guy. I didn't need answers. What I needed was to leave before I became the version of me that begged. And that night, for the first time in years, I didn't wait for her to explain. I let the silence speak for me. By Sunday morning, I was 84 miles away, sitting on a lumpy motel mattress that smelled like bleach and cigarette ash. The curtains were stuck halfway open, letting in a miserable slice of daylight that hit me straight in the eyes. I hadn't slept. I couldn't. Not because I missed her, God, no, but because I kept replaying the sound I imagined she made when she realized I was actually gone. I think that sound, whatever it was, gave me more peace than any lullaby ever could. I hadn't told anyone where I went. No friends, no family. I just drove until my phone lost signal, pulled off the interstate, and picked the first place that didn't have bullet holes in the sign. Room 14, broken ice machine, bedside Bible missing half its pages. Still better than our shared bed at home, where lies probably still soaked the mattress. Around 10 a.m., I walked across the parking lot to the diner next door. "Paula's," said the sign in faded red letters. I looked like a mess, hair all over, same hoodie from yesterday, probably still had toothpaste crust on my chin, but the waitress didn't care. She gave me black coffee, extra strong, and didn't ask questions. I liked her immediately. I was halfway through a rubbery omelet when a man sat 2 stools down at the counter. Late 40s, construction boots, weather-beaten face. He didn't look at me right away, just ordered his food, thanked the waitress, and stirred his tea like he was mixing secrets into it. And then he said, without turning his head, "You're not running from the law, are you?" I choked on my coffee. "What?" He smiled faintly, still not looking at me. "You look like a guy who just drove away from something heavy. A woman, maybe?" My heart skipped. "Is it that obvious?" He finally turned his head. "No, but the guy in room 12 said your car was still warm when you checked in last night, and guys who leave in a hurry usually come with ghosts in the back seat." I froze. I hadn't spoken to anyone in this place. I hadn't given my name, hadn't made small talk, hadn't made a scene. But this stranger looked at me like he'd already read the first 3 chapters of my tragedy. And then he added something that stopped my breath. "Just be careful," he said, leaning in slightly. "Some women don't let go that easy. And if she hasn't called yet, she will." He got up, left a $5 tip, and walked out like he hadn't just cracked open my soul. That's when I checked my phone. 4 missed calls, all from her. I stared at the phone like it was ticking. 4 missed calls, 1 voicemail. My name didn't show up in the transcription preview, just a partial sentence that read, "I don't know what to say, and then it cut off. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear her voice, not yet. But curiosity is a parasite. It eats through you slowly. So I listened. It started with silence, then the sound of her breathing, rapid, shaky, like she'd been crying. But Renee was always a master performer. I waited for the crocodile tears to kick in, the apology, the "I love you, I messed up, please come home" cliché. But what I heard instead made my blood freeze. "Hey, it's me, She paused, exhaled. "I don't think he knows yet." I came home and the house was empty. He left without a word, not even a note. I think he found something. I panicked, okay? I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I thought we had more time. More time? Then came another voice, muffled but distinct. A man's voice, low, urgent, annoyed. "You said he wouldn't find out, Renee. You said he was too weak to leave." Her voice again, sharper now. "I didn't think he had it in him. Just give me a second." Click. The message ended. I didn't breathe for a full minute. My hand was shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. That voicemail wasn't meant for me. She must have meant to call him. The man with the shirt from Tony's Slice Shack. The man whose voice now had a shape in my mind. And she was afraid, not of losing me, of being caught, of the timing, of the collapse of whatever lie she had stitched together with silk words and red lipstick. Suddenly everything was clear. The weirdly folded hoodie, the eggs, the washed shirt, the note with no name. It wasn't sloppiness. It was panic. She came home and realized the game was over. And now she was trying to do damage control, not for the sake of love, for the sake of survival. I needed air. I walked out of the motel room and into the parking lot, where the sun was setting behind a gas station and a line of crooked pine trees. That eerie orange glow made everything look like it was melting. And that's when I saw it, across the street, in a dark green sedan with tinted windows. A figure, watching me. I blinked, took a step forward. The car pulled away, fast. And for the first time, I wondered, was I the one being followed? I didn't chase the car. I just stood there, motionless, while the taillights disappeared behind a curve and a row of dying trees. I tried to convince myself it was coincidence, that maybe the driver was just a local cutting through the back road. But something in my bones knew better. That car wasn't parked. It was waiting, watching. And now it was reporting back. I returned to my motel room, heart pounding harder than I wanted to admit. I reached for the handle, expecting the familiar resistance of the stubborn lock I had wiggled into place that morning. But there was none. The door opened easily, too easily. My backpack was still on the bed, my jacket on the chair. Nothing looked taken, but that's not what scared me. What scared me was what had changed. The position of the chair. The lamp I'd left off was now on. My phone, which had been on the nightstand, was sitting on the floor, face up, with the voicemail deleted. I checked twice. It was gone, not moved to trash. Gone. I didn't leave that door unlocked. I backed out of the room and sat in my car for over an hour, gripping the wheel like it was the only thing tethering me to reality. My mind raced in circles. No destination, just loops. Had she found me? Did she send someone? Was it that guy from the diner who said too much too soon? Was it all connected, or was I spiraling? I ended up driving 15 miles to the next town and booking another cheap room under a different name, Nolan Pierce, a name I used in high school once to prank call the local radio station. It sounded ridiculous then. Now, it felt like armor. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the windows. I locked the door 3 times. I checked the peephole every hour, and I kept thinking about what she said in the voicemail. We thought we had more time. Time for what? What exactly were they planning? And why, after years of being ignored, lied to, and used like emotional wallpaper, why was I now suddenly dangerous to them? Whatever this was, it wasn't just cheating anymore. I was part of something I didn't understand, and someone was making sure I stayed confused. The motel in the next town was even worse than the first. The kind of place where the vending machine rattled when the wind blew, and the front desk clerk looked surprised that someone actually asked for a key. Room 108 smelled like a mixture of old carpet and distant regret. Still, I felt safer there. New room, new name, new lock I triple-checked. But safe is just a word. And paranoia doesn't care about geography. The next morning, I sat in the stiff plastic chair by the window, trying to piece together what all of this meant. I scribbled names and connections on a paper napkin like some unhinged detective. Renee, the voice on the voicemail, Tony's Slice Shack, the wash shirt, the stranger in the car, the deleted message. But the more I tried to build a timeline, the more it felt like I was missing a middle chapter. Something big. Something they never expected me to go looking for. Out of desperation, I opened my backpack and pulled out the one thing I hadn't touched since leaving, our old joint notebook. It was something we started during our second year of marriage. Dumb things like grocery lists, weekend plans, and inside jokes. I hadn't opened it in years, but I took it with me. Habit, I guess. I flipped through the pages until I reached the back pocket. Inside was a folded piece of paper I didn't recognize. Not my handwriting, not hers either. It was an address, just an address, no name, no date. But I knew the street. It was on the outskirts of our own town, in a forgotten part of the industrial district. I'd only been there once, years ago, and back then, it had been a crumbling warehouse that reeked of engine oil and asbestos. But why was it in our notebook? Curiosity pushed me back into my car, napkin map in one hand, notebook in the other. I drove, slowly, carefully, checking my rear view every few minutes, convinced I'd see the green sedan again. When I pulled up to the address, the building looked abandoned, windows covered in boards, faded graffiti across the sidewall, but the front door wasn't chained. It was slightly open. I stepped inside. The air was musty and cold, like it hadn't been disturbed in years. But there were signs of life, recent ones. A dusty water bottle, a still warm coffee cup, a sleeping bag stuffed behind a broken filing cabinet. And then, near the back of the room, a section of wallpaper was peeling off the concrete wall. Not sure what made me do it, but I pulled. Behind it, taped to the bare wall, was a photo. Of me, standing in my front yard, from 2 days ago. I stared at the photo for what felt like forever. It was grainy, printed on cheap paper, and torn on the edge like it had been ripped out of something. But the timestamp in the corner was unmistakable. It had been taken the morning Renee left. The same morning she said she needed a break. The same morning I stood on the front lawn in my slippers, half asleep, waving goodbye to someone who wasn't really coming back. But that wasn't what made my chest tighten. It was the reflection. In the glass of the car window behind me, just barely visible, was another figure, a man, tall, wearing a hat, holding something long in his hand, maybe a camera, maybe something worse. His face was partially obscured, but not enough to hide the fact that he wasn't just passing by. He was watching me, framing me, capturing the moment like I was the subject of a story I hadn't agreed to be in. I tore the photo off the wall and backed away like it might burn me. The more I looked around the room, the more I noticed little details I'd missed at first. Scuff marks near the window. A pack of gum I recognized, the same kind Renee kept in her car. A charger plugged into the wall, still warm to the touch. Someone had been here recently, maybe minutes before me. I left without looking back. Back at the motel, I locked myself in the bathroom and ran the shower, not to bathe, but to cover the sound of my breathing. I was unraveling. I could feel it. My hands shook when I picked up my phone again. 5 new missed calls, all from a private number. And then a text came through. Just one line. "You should have stayed gone." I didn't recognize the number. I didn't need to. My skin crawled. I wanted to leave. I really did. But something had shifted in me. The fear was still there, yes, but something else had started to build underneath it. Something bitter and quiet and angry. I had spent years tiptoeing around someone who made me feel small, insignificant, forgettable. And now I was finally starting to matter. But not in the way I'd hoped. They weren't afraid I'd leave. They were afraid I'd find out. And suddenly, I didn't want to run anymore. I wanted the whole story. The next morning, I drove back. Not to the warehouse. That part of the story was done. I drove to the address where Renee's sister used to live. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year, but something in me said she'd know more than she ever let on, and I was right. She opened the door with tired eyes and a hesitant smile, the kind you give someone standing in front of a truth you've been avoiding. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just held up the photo I'd found, and her expression crumbled. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she whispered. "They were using you. Both of them." Turns out the man in the reflection was Renee's boss, a real estate developer, married, powerful, careful. Renee had been helping him cover up a scandal involving shell companies and property fraud. My name, my credit history, my silence, all tools in their plan. I wasn't just being cheated on emotionally. I was being used financially. They thought I'd never question anything, that I'd go on watering plants and folding towels while they built a secret empire on my back. But when I left, everything collapsed. The bank froze the joint account. Her boss got spooked. Renee panicked, tried to retrieve documents from the warehouse, and forgot one thing. I was no longer predictable. She texted me again later that night. A long, apologetic message filled with fake warmth and misplaced nostalgia. I didn't respond. Instead, I used the information I'd gathered, the voicemail, the photo, the charger, everything, and gave it to someone who could actually do something about it. A friend of mine from college who now works in corporate investigations. He took it seriously. Too seriously, maybe. 2 weeks later, I received a package in the mail. Inside was a printed report, legal summaries, evidence, even an internal memo marked confidential. My name had been cleared, their plot unraveled. And Renee? She didn't end up with her boss. She ended up under federal review. As for me, I moved again, quietly, peacefully, this time not to hide, but to live. Somewhere small, somewhere slow. I got a dog, a weird little thing with crooked ears who never leaves my side. And for the first time in years, when I make breakfast, there's no red lipstick on the eggs. Just peace. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, tell us in the comments. What's a moment in history where someone quietly walked away and everything changed? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. You're on Reddit Confessions, where the quietest stories hit the hardest.